All right. Good evening, everybody. I just wanted to thank you very much for moving the session. I know that on Tuesday I was a bit all over and I was struggling to get back home, but you guys are here now. So let's get going. So the first thing I just want to check in with you, two things. So the first thing is in terms of your group work, if you can just jot in the sort of just in the chat section. Let me just open up the chat here. Just on a scale of 1 to 5, tell me how's the group work going and are you guys connecting? So 5 is it's working very well. And 3, it is we've got our challenges, but we're working through it. And then a 2 or 1 is we're really struggling and we're not sure that this assignment is going to be submitted on time. Alrighty, thank you, Kino. Alrighty, Andrew, I can see there's a bit of challenges. We'll talk through some of that just now. And then Tolani. Alrighty. Andrew, is it something that you can share openly in here, or is it something that you want to discuss with me privately that we can talk through? Because I had a bit of an incident last semester as well with the group that didn't work so well, and I just want to prevent that from happening and reoccurring again. So is it wanted to chat to me privately? Okay. So what I want you to do is just drop me a note either on WhatsApp or on email and just detail some of the challenges. And then just tell me what you need from me. Do you need some sort of intervention? Do you need me to possibly have a group meeting with all of you, maybe next week early, or something to that effect? So just tell me exactly what you're looking for and needing from me, and then I can take it from there. And just give me a bit of detail, because again, and this is the problem of what the challenge what happened last semester is that it became a he said, she said scenario, or they said scenario, where it was one person's word over somebody else's word. And once we get into that situation, then it becomes very difficult, because then you're asking me to take sides and I don't know the background and so forth. So this assignment, we've still got about a week and a bit for this assignment to get in. So if we can possibly have that resolved by early next week, if that's okay. All right.
Perfect. So thank you.
Okay, no problem. And this is, guys, in terms of group work, let me explain to you. This is absolutely, it is normal. Not all group work works out, but also on the other hand, Kolani, I did see your hand up. Also on the other hand, is that, guys, this is how you're working in real life. You're working in teams. You're working in an organization where you're going to be working with people. Some of you are going to be working remotely, where you're going to be working across different, possibly time zones, possibly working with people in different cities, where you're going to be working online all the time, where you're going to be having meetings and so forth, working on projects together. So it is a necessary skill that you need to develop early on in your work career. And for those that are a bit older and have been working for a bit of time, for a bit longer, they can attest to that. Kulani, you've got your hand up. You had your hand up. You want to ask a question or say something?
Yes, I have a question. For our group, we're working pretty well together. We just have a few things to clear up before we continue. First question for me is
just hold on. Okay, just hold on 1 second with that one, Kulani. Let me. Okay. I just want to move on to the second part, which is quite important. All right, so the second part, or the second point for me, is the whole module engagement vis-a-vis the personal development plan. So all of that is now one thing. So I'm going to be putting together some submission points, and we're now into week 6. So if you can see that personal development plan, you know that there are a few submission points for it, of which it was submission point was week 3, 5, and 6. So I'm going to be asking you to submit something next week and then possibly 2 weeks later. So that will then form part of your module engagement, but it will also go towards completion of this personal development plan. All right, does that make sense?
So what do you mean? Because it's hard to that it's one document, so I'm not understanding how we're supposed to hand in separate
So,
parts of the document.
okay, so on the reflective journal document, if you can remember, there is a section, you almost have to like make notes for each week. Does that make sense? There were sections where each week you have to make a little note, you have to journal something. If you look at that document, if you can still remember what it looks like. Let me just open it here. Personal development plan. Which is busy opening. All right, let me just share my screen with you. Alrighty, you guys can see that. So that is the personal development plan, the template that I've submitted to you, signature of student, signature of educator. Then there's a part 1, name of the team members. So by this time you should have completed the fast track survey and you should have a result, correct? Yes, everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great. You should have completed some of these questions. I mean, all of them. Let me see what else was there. Yeah, you should have completed all of these. Let me have a look. Learning goals, learning tasks, method of assessment. Part 2. Okay. I didn't have the weekly sort of journal bits. I didn't include that in here. All right. So my question then to you is, how do you want to approach this? Do you want to do it? Do you want to leave it as a single submission at the end of week 7, which is the beginning of week 8? Or do you want to submit what you have so far? What works better for you guys? Or do you want to complete the whole thing and then submit it at the end of week 7, beginning of the first week in the first, I think it's a Tuesday or Thursday, the Monday or Tuesday on week 8.
I agree with Keno.
Okay, single. Okay, so that's fine. I'll create a submission point with a deadline, and then I'll just send those details out to you guys. Just on this, was there any issues around this? Because I mean, if you look at the way it's being assessed, you've got your reflective journal. So this is one of those things where you either get full marks or you get no marks. If that makes sense. So full marks means you've submitted it and I've read through it and I've assessed it and I give you 10 out of 10 for it. Or in this case, yeah, sort of 10% towards your final marks. Or you have not submitted it and you miss out on that 10%. So that's so even though if you look at the breakdown of the rubric, it says there, have you includes meaningful posts. Now, even if I look at it written down, a lot of the stuff is going to be your own opinion. It's going to be your own reflection. So I think it's 0 for not submitting it, where you get 10% for submitting it. So what I'm trying to say is you can't score a high mark for it. It's all about your own reflection, and that's the only thing I want to see. So when you submit it and I read through it, I should be able to see, okay, this person has actually sat down, they thought through these questions and they thoughtfully answered them. If I am going to see you copied and pasted stuff from AI, you copied and pasted, there's no real reflection on it, I will engage with you directly. So I'll email you back and I say, listen, I'm looking at this, I'm reading through it, and I'm of the opinion that it's not a true sort of reflective journal. Can you please give it another go? So I won't not give you the marks. I'll just give you an opportunity to maybe redo it. And then if you still don't want to redo it, then at that point, I will then just have to make a decision on how much I'm going to deduct or take off the final mark. So this is really an opportunity for you to reflect on your own journey, whether one, and what I want to see out of it is, one, I am an entrepreneur, and after this degree, or as soon as I have an opportunity, I'm going to resign, start my own business, because this is, I think personally, this is what drives me. Or I'm not an entrepreneur, but I understand some of the entrepreneurial characteristics, and I think I can bring those entrepreneurial characteristics into my job, in which I can be creative, innovative, and willingness to take risk. Or you say, I'm not an entrepreneur, I'll never be an entrepreneur, I will be a worker for the rest of my life, because that is who I am, and I'm not willing to take risks. I'm not, and again, these aren't bad things. None of these things are good or bad things. They are what they are, based on your own personal reflection. So I'm not going to judge you and look at you, you don't want to take risks, therefore. No, there's going to be your own personal reflection. And that's what I want to see out of it. I want you to grapple with that for your own personal sort of growth out of it. All right. Cool. So that is that. All righty. So now let's move on to the assessment. Polani, you are first.
Oh, yes, sir. So I have two questions. Firstly, on the SWOT analysis part, do we treat it as its own heading and have its own section, like do it independently, or we also have it in the 9 blocks in the business model? And secondly, on the parts, on the bullets under the conclusion. So you see the bullets under the conclusion.
Yeah, just stay there. Just stay there with that question. So the first one you're asking about, you must build a business
SWOT
model,
analysis.
with 9 key elements, building blocks, customer segments, So the details you must, okay, so that's the business model canvas. Please, guys, I need to see an actual document, the document itself. I need to see in as an addendum. You can break each one of these down in your assignment, but you must also then have an addendum attached to it with the actual business model canvas as a template.
Wait, sorry, sir. Just so I'm understanding correctly. So we will have our business model parts broken down almost like in an essay form, then have an
Yeah,
addendum, which is the business model at the end,
yeah.
where it's actually
So
in the bullets form.
yes, you can see here, include a completed one-page business model canvas illustrating all the building blocks, lessons we time and way of creating an annexure to your report. So that is the one-pager that I want to see as an addendum. But again, remember, this will be part of you writing. So you'll be talking about your customer segments, and you'll be explaining who they are. You'll be giving a breakdown of them. You'll talk about your value proposition as part of your essay. All right. Your report should have an introduction. So you were asking about the SWOT analysis. Okay, conclusion, a summary of all of it, examining techniques for establishing feasibility, choosing the best technique to implement, testing business idea, yeah, conducting a SWOT analysis of your business model, exploring the business model canvas. So it's not a separate SWOT analysis, but in the process of talking through your building blocks, your customer segments, your value propositions, you could talk to, this is one of our strengths, or this is an opportunity that we want to exploit. Or if you look at key partners, you might say, or maybe cost structure, you go, okay, no, this is a bit of a threat, because the threats are internal, remember? So cost structure, a bit of a threat, because potentially our cost structure is going to be much higher than our competition, or much higher than we anticipate, especially at the beginning when we're starting up with the business. So you can talk your SWOT analysis. So when you give this breakdown, Jasper, I see your hand. So when you give this breakdown of all of the key building blocks, you can use the SWOT analysis as a framework to better explain some of them. So you'll say, for instance, some of our key resources. Our key resources according to business model canvas includes things that are this and this and this. For our business, our key resources are this and this and this. We've identified that one or two of these is an opportunity, or and these ones would be a potential weakness for us, and we need to look at improving this or increasing this, and so forth. So it's a good framework to use when discussing the building blocks of the business model canvas. So the business model canvas gives you almost your subheadings to explain your business model. And as you explain your business model, you can use the SWOT analysis as a framework within that to say, you know, some of them are strengths, some of them are weaknesses, some of them are opportunities, some of them are threats. Jasper, you had a hand up. Kolani, does that make sense in terms of your question that you have, the first question?
Yeah, yes, as I'm understanding it, we're including like the SWOT analysis, we kind of integrating it into the building blocks.
That is correct. That's my understanding, yeah. Good. Jasper, you want to jump in quickly, and then Kalani, you can ask your second question.
Yes, no, it was just to confirm that it is integration into the current business model, but would you also need a separate annexure with the SWOT analysis, or is it not that needed?
Not really. Not really. For me, when I read through your building blocks, I should be getting a sense of here's opportunities that you've identified, here's some of the weaknesses that you've identified. So some of the resources might be, these are the resources that we need, but they are weakness because of this or that. One might be the requirement for a specialist, super duper deep mind programmer. Now, in order to get our business up and running, we're going to need the access to a programmer. Now, we don't know where to find one, so that's a potential weakness.
Okay, so I understand that. So basically, in essence, it's not going to be too much detail, because if we have to conduct a SWOT analysis on each of these points, it is going to become very lengthy.
No, not too detailed. It is sort of mentioned as you're busy detailing and writing through each one of the building blocks. That's why I want to include a separate SWOT analysis, because that, as part of this submission, would have taken you most of the assignment. For me, the assignment is about identifying the idea, assessing it, and then using the BMC to frame it. Say, yes, we've identified it. Here we're testing it. This is a tool that we're using to test it. And here we're defining what our business model is using the BMC as a form, as a form of framing, or as a form of explaining what our model is. All right.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Andrew, you've got your hand up.
Sorry, so I understand it as this document at most is probably going to be between 3 and 5 pages, or is that too much in terms of?
Yeah, 3,000. It says 3,000 words, so between 3 and 5 pages. Yes. What I want to see though, so this is where things get interesting. So at the one side, this is entrepreneurship course. I think I spoke about this right at the beginning. This is a course about entrepreneurship, and I want you to be creative and innovative and bring in all kinds of information from all kinds of sources. But at the same time, you're also doing a bachelor's degree, and you're doing a course on entrepreneurship within your bachelor's degree. So it is also an academic course, you know, at a university, college, at a degree level. So this is the tension. So as you're busy putting together your submission, just keep that in mind as well. So the way I approach it and the way I tell my students to approach it when I teach entrepreneurship, because I also teach entrepreneurship to another college for second year BCom students, I said to them, you must hold that tension constantly between, one, treating this as an academic submission, and between submitting it to a funder or potential funder or bank or potential donor for funding for your business. And that's the tension. And it's difficult to sort of operate in that area, because if you're operating from a perspective that I'm pitching this as a pitch to a business for a potential business for potential funding, then it is very different in terms of your tone, in terms of the artifacts that you use, in terms of the way you present, in terms of the way you speak about your business, then submitting an academic submission in which, again, you've got a more academic tone, you reference appropriately, it's a lot more dry, it's a lot more boring, it's black on black, it's black on white, it is Arial 12, 1.5 spacing, etc., etc. And that's the tension. So how to resolve it? For me, I want you to be as creative and innovative. Speak to me not as an online educator. Speak to me as if I'm a potential donor and funder and potential investor that's going to invest in your business. So approach it from that perspective. But at the same time, also bear in mind that I want to see a reference list at the end of your assessment in which you reference the material that you've used inside of your submission. And that's so one, approach it from I'm an investor, I'm a funder, I'm a potential donor that want to invest in your business, and you're pitching your business idea. But at the same time, also bear in mind that you have to make sure that you appropriately. Now, I'm not going to look at your submission and go, oh, no, there's no reference in that paragraph, -1. There's no reference there, -2. There's no reference there, -3. Ooh, that website wasn't referenced appropriately, -5. No, not for a course like this. You've got other courses. You do psychology, and you know that if you submit a psychology essay, if you don't reference appropriately, you get -10 easily. You know, so my expectation from you is not that you have to reference every single thing, but I do want to see in your submission at least places where you acknowledge that this particular framework, this particular bit of theory, this particular canvas, business model canvas. This particular bit of information I got from a source, I got from somewhere else. And here I'm acknowledging it through the form of a reference or through a form of acknowledgement. On the Entrepreneurship South Africa website, it is stated that business ideas should be tested, blah, blah, blah. That's sufficient. Go down to your reference. There we go. There's a reference. Entrepreneurship essay, article on entrepreneurship and business models, access 18th of July, and there's the link appropriately referenced. To me, that is more than sufficient. So that's that tension. Is that okay, Andrew? I know that you're looking for does that make sense? This just to everyone in terms of the expectation, in terms of what I want to see when you submit it.
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, and it's a difficult thing to straddle, because if you a group of entrepreneurs that want to pitch for a business idea and a business concept, then you're going to go all in with colors and all kinds of fancy stuff, all kinds of video clips and all of those type of stuff. And I want to see the colors. I want to see the innovation. I want to see the bright stuff. I want to see the images. I want to see if you're doing an app, I want you to have some sort of Canvas does it quite well. Canva, if you go onto canva.com, you can actually come up and you can write in, you can do little screenshots, iPhone screenshots of what the app might look like, those type of stuff. Use AI to come up with really cool, mid-journey pictures, or use ChatGPT to come up with really cool images for you. I want to see that because this course is about entrepreneurship and creativity and understanding how do you harness that so that it can become a commercially viable business idea.
So, like, okay, are we allowed to veer off the document kind of style? Can we put it in like a PowerPoint, or at least have PowerPoint slides within the document to help? Because I'm thinking, if I'm going to present something, I'm never going to present a document. I'd rather do a PowerPoint or something that just pops a little bit more than a document, because there's limited range that you have with a singular document,
Yeah. I still need to mark it, and this is where the Word document structure format allows some continuity between the different groups. Because if you're going to submit a PowerPoint presentation, somebody else's Word document, is going to be difficult for me to compare the two. But you can include one or two slides and say that, for our business model canvas, for instance, here is an example of what a presentation slide would look like. There's nothing wrong with including that as addendums, even if it's one or two slides that just showcases a bit of creativity and a bit of color.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much, sir.
No problem. All right, Kalani, you had a second question.
No, so it's been answered through when you are describing the other things.
Okay, great. Yeah, this particular first submission is, and again, yeah, Andrew, as you said, it's actually not a big one. 4 to 5 pages, maximum 6 pages. Again, include as many addendums, include as many screenshots, include as much as you can, as you want to. But the document itself, the thing that I'm going to mark as a clear introduction, the main body of the project seeks to answer the above-mentioned project question using the 9 key building blocks, outline the process that you undertook to define each building block. So you'll say that the business model canvas was discovered or was created by Alex Osterwalder in his pursuit of trying to and you go into a bit of explanation of that. And you can say in the process of identifying our key resources as a group, we identified them as this and this and this. According to the business model of Calvis, according to Osterwalder, key resources are identified as this and this and this. With our group working together, we've identified these key resources for our business model. And this is the reason why we identified it as such. So that is the breakdown sort of as you go through each one of these building blocks, sort of right through all of them. A concise summary of your business model. You should, as part of the introduction or as part of the main body, you should also include a test technique for testing your business model. How would you go about testing it? Or how would you go about testing your business idea and which one is the best? Sorting risk associated with the startup concern and devise risk mitigation.
Sorry, sir. Sorry.
Yes.
Would that also be like its own heading, unless I'm not understanding correctly? Like the bullet point, implementing your testing of your business model, how you would test it and stuff. Would that be like a heading on its own where you describe how you test the business model? Or I'm not understanding.
Yes. So agreeing on a specific, so here's this section here. Let me just highlight, see if I can highlight it in a different color. Right, so that, okay, not implementing that, because that's something else. This is something else. So I was busy sort of, I wanted to break this down a bit because this is sort of in addition to your 9 building blocks. Let's just do it that way. So as you go through your 9 building blocks, you get to then a summary of your conclusion. And that summary is the answer to the project question. And this is the project question. What is my business model? So you answer that question. What is my business model? And then you have your summary. And then after that, you then have a section on feasibility and viability. So you can have that as a heading. So you can say feasibility and viability. I think I'm actually going to just drop this into a document for you guys as well, because there's a few people that's not on here. So that's a section on its own, feasibility and viability. We'll explain what is the difference between feasibility and what's the difference between viability. And then, is your business model feasible and is it viable? Then you'll look at testing business ideas. We'll talk a little bit about the reason why we test business ideas. And then you're going to choose a particular sort of testing technique. And then you will then talk through that testing process and procedure about how you're going to test it and how you're going to record the results. So that would be another section. So that section, let's call it business assessment, or we can call it testing. That'll be another section. And then the development based on the results. And then that's another section. Let me just highlight that section in maybe a different color. There we go. So let's just call that section number 3. And that section is, we call it reflection. And that is critically analyzing and reflecting on your business model canvas. So now that you've done the canvas, now that you've done the feasibility, viability, now that you've looked at a testing process, you've determined that your business model is both feasible and it is viable. You've tested it and you found a way of, or you've at least written about how you're going to record the results. You then sort of reflect on that entire process and go, okay, so this is almost like a mini conclusion. So you can say, based on our feasibility and viability and the testing process, we think that our business model is good to go, or it might need work in this area, resources, or it might need work in this area, customer, or it might need work in this area, suppliers, and so forth. So that's a reflection bit. And then finally, you're going to have a little section on potential risks. So you can just call that potential risks or business risks. No, let's do it potential business risk, potential risks, because you don't have a business yet. Potential risks. And that is kind of, and then I'm looking for a little sort of a little conclusion to wrap it all up. You can say in this report, we as a team, we have identified this is a business idea. We put together our business model, and then we assessed its feasibility and viability. We also identified a suitable testing model and identified how we can record results. We've noted the risks associated with our business or potential business idea or the business model, blah, blah. And that's sort of your final conclusion at the end of it. So Andrew, I'm beginning to see how quickly it folds up. So now suddenly that 4 to 5 pages looks quite doable. And again, for this section, I'm not looking for reams and reams on it. I mean, I'm looking for each one of these sections, maximum 3 paragraphs, half a page long. And it's only 4, so another 2 pages in addition to your 9 blocks breakdown. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Good. No problem. Kalani, does that sort of answer your question that you had? You wanted to know, are those additional sections to be added onto the 9 blocks?
Yeah. Yes, it answers it. So.
Okay, good. No, that's a very good question. Thank you very much. I just, again, I just assumed that you guys have worked through this, but that's a very good question. Thank you very much for clarifying for us. Good stuff. Are there any other questions in terms of how you guys are all of you guys using Google Docs, or are you using Microsoft SharePoint or Teams or something to collaborate and work together? Which tools are you guys using? Andrea, you got a question in terms of layout versus APA and the difference in how should our assessment look with these headings and no bullet points, only sentences? Andrea, now this is where that tension comes in earlier. I said about How do you present this in such a way that it's striking and catches me and presents it well? So you kind of, so it's still a Word document, yes, but feel free to use a report style in which you have headers and footers, in which you use maybe a set of colors throughout, in which maybe you use in particular. So try to stick to a legible font, because I'm marking this on a screen. So Arial 12, 1.5 spacing is always good. And yes, for in-text referencing APA, but again, I'm not going to be looking at is the comma in the right place and having made the right full stop, and is that bracket before or after the full stop. For me, it's just about you acknowledging, if you've used information from a source, acknowledging that source in a way that makes sense and fits with the format of your report. But your reference list should be correct, and it should cover all of the sources that you used in your submission. And that will be APA style. Does that answer your question, Andrea? Excellent. Cool. Let's leave it there for this evening. So I've got 2 action points. The first one is I'll put together, even if it's just a 1-pager, just on what I'm looking for, with maybe headings to guide you in terms of your document submission. Andrew, you will drop me a note. So let me know. And then I'll create a submission point for week 8 for your submission for your PDP. Yeah, and we'll go from there. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody, for taking the time to log on this evening. I appreciate it. And have a good evening.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Theo.
sir. Good
No
evening.
problem.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Jasper. Thank you, Kina. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Kulani. Good questions. Good night, everyone.